Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. Each year, on the 24th of September since 1994, South Africans have been celebrating Heritage Day. Now, the day was originally in honor of the legendary AmaZulu king Shaka Zulu, who convinced multiple Zulu clans to stand together against the Boers and the British. Like every other day of the year, this day is a difficult one for far too many South Africans who continue to pay the heavy price exacted by our past, especially as a result of race-based forced removals and unequal education. So this evening we ask, what is our South African identity? Let's unpack this further. I'm joined by UKZN cultural expert, Professor Sihawukele Ngubane. Very good evening to you, Professor Ngubane. Thank you for your time. I suppose you and I are speaking on the eve of Heritage Day tomorrow. We saw most of it today with the different attires, people coming out in their different traditional attires, and we'll see more of it tomorrow. But after that, it's just an ordinary day. What makes Heritage Day so significant, especially as we look back to the history pages?
Thank you very much for inviting me, and good evening, Paul. I think the significance of this day, which was named Heritage Day on the 24th of September, was merely to celebrate our shared past and our shared histories, skills, and indigenous knowledges. I think the main purpose of this day was part of reconciliation and creating unity amongst the South Africans so that we create a national identity. You are aware that we have diverse cultures and we've been separated from each other for many years, over 300 years. We're living in the same space but different directions. So the Heritage Day is a reminder that we are one nation, and it is an endeavor to bring unity as part of nation building.
And it's an important day to acknowledge, it's an important day to reflect on, especially speaking to unity and, a past that is shaped by so many influential factors. What forms the South African identity?
The South African identity is basically governed by the principle of Ubuntu. And this is what has been in the past. People, mainly the African people, were practicing Ubuntu. And the main aim of celebrating our human values and our priorities are based on the principle of Ubuntu. So it is coming together of people who live in the contemporary environment and looking back as to where we come from. And this form part of our ethnic identity as African people, as I've said, that they are bound by the principle of Ubuntu.
Bound by the principle of Ubuntu also comes under the spotlight the matter of language and expression, and how the different groups converse, when it comes to language and authenticity. And I suppose I mention language because of a lot of, English being used as a medium of instruction in schools, and also being spoken at home, where there are complaints and perhaps fears of an entire generation which may not know how to have conversations in their different languages.
Yeah, languages are part of our heritage because we have inherited our languages from our forefathers, and they have been using it without the interruption and interference of English, and they have used it successfully. They had adequate terminology. You hear people saying, "Hey, I lack the word, the perfect word in my language, so that's why I use English." But indigenous languages are self-sufficient, and they've been used, and they have been they have evolved because there are new terms that are developed because of the latest technologies like cellular. You have words for that. That is not an excuse of speaking English at the expense of our languages. So I think languages expresses our culture, and languages expresses our identity. So it is very imperative for parents to instill these languages to our children. We don't want to land up like other racial groups in South Africa, like the Indian population who speaks English and they have forgotten their mother tongue languages, Gujarati, Telugu. They never speak those languages even at home and at work and at school. So during this month, it is an awareness that we need to teach our children our languages so that our languages do not die in our hands. So it is important that during this day of the 24th month, let's exercise to speak our languages for once within our families, and when we get together, we converse in our own languages.
I suppose it's important to acknowledge or perhaps understand that we've become products of a complex, ever-changing South African society. How then does one adapt without losing their sense of heritage and culture through language, through food and attire?
English says practice makes perfect. When we start using our languages, that is how we can manage to preserve our heritage. When we start cooking our own food, and not necessarily the way and the manner in which in the past those dishes were prepared, but like take amadumbe for instance, take upatata for instance. These are some of the stable diets that our forefathers used to survive on, and they had nutritions that kept them strong and fit, and that you can go to a market and grab those madumbes and bananas and patatas and start cooking and start eating and trying these dishes at least as the 24th of September. You can try it on that day as part of a celebration. And you will find out that after the celebration, you may see yourself continuing eating the traditional food and also wearing these traditional attires. It's good to wear them as a once-off thing, but you can get used to them and use them in other celebrations, because I think the whole idea of a Heritage Day, which is a national day, is people showcasing their cultures, showcasing their cuisine, and showcasing their values and priorities. And I think as South Africans, we must see this opportunity as a resource to bring us together as a nation so that we can learn from each other. And even you spoke of a language. Once you mix with people who speak isiZulu, isiXhosa, you end up speaking the language that is spoken by those groups of people whom you mingle with. So coming together, speaking different languages, we can learn from each other's languages and get to understand people's identity and their cultures.
Perhaps let's go back to Heritage Day being known as Shaka Day. Just perhaps give us some history to that, how that came about.
This was practiced by the people of KwaZulu-Natal in commemoration of the late King Shaka, who is the founder of the Zulu nation and who established and united the Zulu people. So his passing on is commemorated on this day. And this was passed by the former KwaZulu-Natal government, and they endorsed this day on the 24th of September as the day to remember King Shaka. So when it came to the new democratic government, they felt that since we are not now promoting divisions among the people of South Africa, in order to unite everyone in South Africa, we need to change this day into a heritage day. So it's no longer a King Shaka's day, because it will be like it is only exclusively for the Zulu people. But if it is a heritage day, it includes everyone who live in South Africa. So people must use that this day to unite, and also use this day to exchange skills and ideas and share their histories together. So I think basically that is why this name was changed into Heritage Day instead of King Shaka, because we are not promoting tribalism in South Africa, but we are promoting unity. That's why we have the concept of social cohesion, where people from different racial groups cohere together and share their experiences and reflect on their experiences and expressions.
How important do you think, within the cultural diversity and encouraging each and every one of us to step out of our cultural bubbles, the expression through art, through music, how much of an impact does that have on learning and uniting in cultures through art?
Yeah, it's exposure. I'll cite one example from my institution. We have a production which was adapted from W. Mozart, Magic Flute, and we have translated it into isiZulu. It is being performed from the 22nd till tomorrow. The final show will be tomorrow, which is the 24th. It brings people of different races together to listen to the Zulu version of this opera, which was also performed in English in the past. So this is one way of transforming what we have from other cultures and Western ideologies, bringing them together and translating them into our languages. And people are very excited about the production. Even yesterday, the attendance was multiracial. People from all walks of life came and attended it, because the music is the same, and now the lyrics are in the indigenous languages, and isiZulu to be specific. So this is how we can do. We must expose our languages and use our languages so that we can achieve this goal that is intended by the Heritage Day.
Very well. Thank you so much for your time, UKZN cultural expert Professor Sihawukele Ngubane, speaking about the significance of Heritage Day.